as an elder. Here we have John and Rusty and Brian as our elders, our pastors, our shepherds. And so could it be that he's saying that he has that position? In 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 1, Peter says that he's an elder in the church. Now, one thing we know that Peter for sure had that we're not sure about Paul or about John is a wife. Peter was married. At least he had a mother-in-law, and that usually goes together. So perhaps he's referring to that. One of the interesting theories, which I think has some merit, is that the word elder was used in a broad sense of the apostles, because they had the job, the task of overseeing. That could very well be so. Now, that would not necessarily mean that they were elders in the sense that our three are elders in a local congregation. But it's clear that the apostles were charged with overseeing the church, with being presbyters to the church. I'll tell you what makes me think that may be so. The elder. Now stop and let that roll around your mind a minute. He doesn't say an elder. He says the elder. If this is written at the end of the first century, 90 to 95, somewhere around there, what do we know about John?
He's the last one. He's the last one.
He's the only apostle living. All of the others have died. So could it be that he's using that in regard to his being an apostle? And he is the elder, the only one left. He is the apostle, the only one left. When John dies, there are no more apostles. I told you, if you're looking for definitive answers, you're going to have trouble with 2 John, because all of those, I'd read one commentary and it'd say, he used this because he was an old man. And the next commentary would say, he used this because, like Peter, he was an elder in church. And the next one would say, he used this because he was the last of the apostles. And it's after a while you go, which is it? Now, my conclusion is it doesn't matter. John's an old man. He's the last of the apostles. He for sure wrote this book. And we need to be more concerned about what it says than how John identified himself. And about the time you got that one straightened out, verse 1 continues, to the elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all those who have known the truth. Now, what do you suppose the next question is?
What's the lady?
Who's the lady? In Greek, it's eklekta kuria. By the way, kuria is the feminine form of kurios. You know what kurios is a word for? Lord, master. And so this is the feminine form of that. So let's talk about some of the theories about this. There are theories, there are people who believe that it is a proper name, that her name may have been Elekana or Curia. That's a possibility. We don't have a great record of other women who wore that as a name, but I've quit saying I've never heard that name before because I'm hearing new ones all the time. And it may have been that her name was Electra, chosen, elect, or Curia, lady. Another view is that it's just an affectionate address. It's like saying, my dear, dearest lady. Maybe. I kind of discount that, but that's just my understanding of how John approaches this, whoever this elect lady is. Probably the most common guesstimate is that it is a way of addressing the church. Now, hold your finger there and go back to 1 John 5, or 1 Peter 5, I'm sorry. Verse 5. Chapter 5, verse 13. 1 Peter 5:13. She who is in Babylon, elect together with you, greet you, and so does Mark my son. Now, Babylon is used there, no doubt, for Rome. Rome was often called Babylon because it was a seat of every kind of vice and crime and persecution that you can imagine. She refers to the church at Babylon, Rome. Elect. She's elect with you. So I think we have a passage in 1 Peter that might give some credence to this being just a term for the church. The church is the bride of Christ. The church would be female. The church is never spoken of as he. The church is always spoken of as she. And church is made up of people who are elect, chosen. And so perhaps, and I think probably so, what the elder, the last apostle, is writing to this congregation whom he knows, who has a very special relationship to him. Now, this is one of the differences in 2 John and 1 John. 1 John is a broader letter to a bigger audience. I take it that this is a letter to a single congregation that John knows. And he is calling her the elect lady. Are you with me somewhere? Did I lose you anywhere along the road there? I don't want to confuse you, but I think it's important if we're going to study the book that we know who wrote it, who it was written to, if we can know that. Okay? Questions, comments? John, you look like you want to say something.
Not yet.
You don't?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Whoever this is, and I'm taking the point, that, the position that it is a congregation, that he loves in the truth. Why would John love a congregation in the truth?
Because he's in the truth and he possibly could have
Okay.
been a part of their existence, planting.
What's one of these big words in 2 John? Truth. How many times is it found? 5 times. John is all about the truth. That's true in 1 John. It's true here in 2 John. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. John realizes the only way to combat error is to know truth. It amazes me how people will fall for about anything. And the reason that people will fall for about anything is they don't know the truth. I don't have to know what everything is that's wrong. If I know what's right, I'm okay, because that settles it for anything else. I've used the illustration, and I suspect you remember me or heard me say it, that it's like two people sitting in their living room and the draperies are open and they look out and there's a couple walking down the street. And the man says, "There goes John with his wife." And his wife says, "That's not his wife." And so the husband says, "Well, who is it then?" And she says, "I don't know, but it's not his wife." You can know what's not right if you know what is right. If we know truth, anything else is error. And he's going to talk in this letter about a dangerous error. One of the things about 2 John is it's a warning about false doctrine. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But he loves this church, the position I'm taking, in truth. And not only I, but also all those who have known the truth. So whoever this congregation is, whatever it is, wherever it is, John loves it because of its stand for truth. And other people who know the truth love this church too. I would think that we would be people who would love congregations who stand for the truth. As we consider congregations in our area, when we know this congregation stands firm, they teach truth, I think we have a love for that congregation. I'm hoping that they have a love for us as a congregation that stands for the truth. Yeah, I knew I was winding you up there, buddy.
Without getting too far ahead of you, or in the book, loving the congregation in truth, just like you say, they're based in the truth, they work within the truth, they try to do everything in accordance with God's will. But just like here, with some limited monies, some limited time, let's make sure, we need compassion, but let's make sure we're spending it on the right things in the truth.
Yes. Absolutely. And we ought to always be people who are in search of truth. We don't have any corner on the truth market. The truth is truth no matter who tells it. And falsehood is falsehood no matter who tells it. And so we are people who are in constant search for the truth, open to the truth. I would hope that we don't have our closed minds. It's like, I've got an open mind, but I'd like to see the eyes of the person that can change my mind. It's like, I think that's the way we approach things. Rather than saying, let's sit down and study together. We're in search of truth. If I can help you see truth, wonderful. If you can help me see truth, wonderful. I think sometimes we come off to other people as we are the only ones who know truth and care about truth. And I don't think that's so. I think there are people who are as honest as we are. And we need to be open to discussing truth. But the way to do that is not to get a creed book or Reverend so-and-so says, but the way to do that is to get an open Bible and sit down and rightly divide it. Handle it correctly. Yeah. Tessa, it looks like you're going to say something.
Jesus is the truth.
Yes.
And you could substitute the word Jesus every time he uses truth.
He's personification of truth. He is personification of truth. That's exactly right.
Whom I love in Jesus, but not I, but also all who know Jesus, because of Jesus, who lives in us and will be with us forever. You put Jesus in there, and it works.
Good. Good. So notice the word truth is found 5 times in the book, and 3 times are found here in the first 2 verses. He said, I love this church and the truth. Other people who know the truth love her because of the truth, which abides in us and will be with us forever. Truth must abide in us. We have to make sure that truth is not something that bounces off of us. It's not that we believe this, but we soon forget it. Truth needs to be that which lives in us. It's living and active. And the personification of it is truth, is Jesus. I am the way, the truth, the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. Jesus is the very personification of truth. You want a picture of truth, it's Jesus. So when I get Him in me, then I have truth in me, and I'm ready to stand for truth and love those who are in the truth. Okay? So he says, I love this lady, the church. I love her in the truth, and so do others. Now, he begins in chapter 3 to discuss one of the themes that's in 2 John. As we've said, 2 John is not very long, but it has a couple of themes in it. He's going to talk here in this section about walking. But he's going to give a blessing that's pretty common. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with you from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth. There's our 4th time that truth is used, and love. Let's talk about that briefly. Grace is favor that's unmerited. It's getting what you don't deserve. Mercy is kindness. And peace is the means that binds us together. Now look, that this comes from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. What do you suppose one of the false doctrines is that he's going to deal with in 2 John that he dealt with in 1 John?
Since he's using the conjunction and, that Jesus is deity, and blessings come from him.
It's that Gnosticism thing that Jesus is not the Son of God. He's not divine. Now, John doesn't argue it here. He just mentions that grace, mercy, and peace with you from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus the Christ, the Son of the Father. Now, does it seem to you that he goes out of his way to make his point? He just doesn't say Jesus. He just doesn't say Jesus Christ. He just doesn't say Son of God. He puts all of that together. The Lord, Kurios. The woman, Kuria, the feminine form. The Lord, Jesus, his common name, his given name. Christ, the Messiah, and the Son of the Father. The divinely born one. It seems to me that he goes out of his, you know what I was talking about? Lynn and I were talking before services that sometimes we get catches in our hands. Does anybody else do that? I have had the carpal tunnel surgery, and it worked for a while, but I just then got one of these where it's like, I got to straighten that finger out. It's got a mind of its own. It's going wherever it wants to. So bear with me.
Today's vernacular, John saying, I think we can all agree that Jesus is...
Yeah. Now, the point is that everybody doesn't agree, and he's going to deal with that later. He's going to write to them.
He can just point out first.
Yeah, but he gets his point. He lays it out in clear terms, I think, of who this Jesus is.
Were those the Docetics, right? Those are the ones that said Jesus, the Docetic form of Gnosticism, right? Is that a separate form of Gnosticism, the Docetics or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that's who he's talking
Yes.
to? Right?
Yes, absolutely. I rejoice greatly that I have found some of your children walking in truth as we receive commandment from the Father. Some of your children. What does it seem that the implication might be?
Some aren't.
Some weren't. So there were people associated with the congregation who were walking in what? Truth. One of those words, right? Truth. Some of your children are walking in truth. Could that be said of any congregation?
I believe so.
If John were to write a letter to Seymour Church, would he say, I rejoice greatly that some of your children are walking in truth, but there are some who aren't? Does any church have people who started walking and didn't end up walking? Who for one reason or another left the faith, the truth? Yeah. And that's sad. But don't you rejoice when you see good things and hear good things that are happening? One of the advantages, I'm here 12 years, I have seen people in this congregation grow up, obey the Lord. They're involved, they teach, they participate. I will tell you, his mother or dad are not here to hear this, so don't tell them I said it. But I remember Will from the time he was a little tyke. I was sitting in my office at the South Knoxville Church. The nursery was right across from it. And so I could see from my door into it. They came to the building for some kind of an activity, a dinner, I think, and I was sitting in there, and he came in and he wanted to go in that door because that was his class. His mother had the awfulest time getting him convinced that you don't go in there tonight, Will. were here for another reason. And he pitched a fit. He was not at all happy about not going in his class. I've known that boy all his life, practically. And I've seen him grow and mature. Isn't it marvelous? I have told him that we'll someday, my prediction is, that you'll be a deacon in this church and then you'll be an elder in this church. I believe that. I believe that Will has the stuff that will allow that to happen. And my goodness, did he find a good woman. Now, her mother's here, but don't you tell her I said that. I mean, he got a good one. And now they have a baby. Can you believe that? And I just think it's wonderful. I've seen that happen. And it's wonderful that we see some of your children who are walking in truth, who are growing, who are developing, who are leaders in the church. The sad thing is, there are some who aren't. And we ought to be concerned about those people. I'm afraid one of our shortcomings, if I could be so bold, is that we just let people go who go. It's kind of like, well, I told them to come on back, and they just didn't. And I think we have to do a better job than that, folks. I think we have to do a better job. They're as lost now as they were before they obeyed the gospel. And that has to weigh heavy on our shoulders. That has to be a painful thing. And now whether John had gotten this from some traveling evangelist, and we'll talk about that later, that one of the ways that falsehood and good news got passed around was that we had traveling preachers. And they didn't have a Motel 6 to stay in, or whatever, but they relied on the hospitality of the members. And that meant that it was a good, wonderful thing, except when the traveling preacher carried false doctrine, and that way he polluted the church. But that'll come later in the book. Well, we didn't get far, and we weren't sure about some of the stuff that got us there. But you read the book, and we'll talk more about it next time, okay? Thank you so much.